Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the MCast. Today we have Mariela Katz, entrepreneur, a mother of two, soon to be three, and a wife. Thank you for joining us today. I've been looking forward to having you in the podcast. You have so much going on in life, and we're going to dive in and learn more about Mariela.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
I've heard a lot
guys.
about you from Ali, and the theme of our podcast is always, what does it mean to live a good life? So I ask you today, what's your definition of living a good life?
Being unapologetically yourself, and that's through the different eras of your life. And I feel like I've always done a good job of being that. You know, I think I've changed eras a few times, and still rocking at that.
Be authentic.
Mm-hmm.
So be yourself. So explain being unapologetically, yourself. Like, what does that mean to you? How did you implement that in your life?
Yeah, the first time I came to realize that was when I was starting out my business, my first business. I was in my early 20s, going into big meetings, and not necessarily being taken as serious as I wanted to be taken in those meetings. And I realized one of those reasons is because I was trying too hard to fit in when it was time to stand out. And that's why today I show up in dressy pajamas.
That's amazing.
And that's just who I am. That's my style. That's who I am. And that's how it goes. And it goes with my vibe. It goes with my energy. It goes with my day. It goes with the mood that I bring on. And after that realization, I think I made a lot of changes to how I behaved in life, but also in business. And you get what you see. And if what you see is not good enough for you, then that's okay. We're just not meant to go together, And that brought on a lot of success for me because people realized it's like, hey, I really like this person and I want to do business with this person. And I think business is all about the connections that you build. It's people first and the actual business second.
People buy from people.
I love it.
Yeah, people
Be
love
yourself
people. They don't love brands. They don't love, marketing.
We were discussing this yesterday. Always be yourself, right? And never change the basics of doing business, which is relationships. Without network, without relationships, you have no business. You can invest on so many tools and platforms. But at the end of the day, if you don't make those authentic relationships, you're going to be out of business soon.
Stay true to yourself.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
And coming back to what you mentioned about trying really hard to fit in these meetings.
Yeah.
Can you give me an example of what was it? Maybe like a real life example or a moment where you felt like you were trying to be someone you're not, and then something went off in your mind like a switch.
Yeah, on a lot of levels. I think clothes, the attitude, even the sort of presentations that I would be showing. And, the clothes that I would wear would be often a bit too formal. I would always overthink it. We were just talking about that earlier. I would always overthink it. Then, I would show up with my beautiful, perfect presentation of 20 slides. When people don't want to see your presentation for 20 slides, they want to hear your passion. They want to hear what you've done, who you've worked with, and to be honest, what you can do for them and how you can innovate that. So the slide, it can sit there and it's like, guys, I'll send you that after. But I'm here to tell you something very important, and that's what I can do for you. And that sort of just made it a click. And from there, I've noticed that same pattern in other people. And once again, I think there's different industries. So this particular example was for myself and for my marketing industry then. And I think for my nuts industry today, my food industry still applies. But when I would see individuals, I would be like, oh, he or she is in that phase of, still sort of discovering where they stand. And I think we all need to go through that phase of self-discovery too. And I came on the other side.
It's interesting because there was a moment in my career where I, tried to be something I wasn't or somebody I wasn't. Only through, speaking to a life coach, not necessarily a business coach, more of a life coach, or, consulting different people that I looked up to as far as entrepreneurs are concerned, not only in my industry, but outside of my industry, you kind of realize that one, yes, you have to differentiate yourself from the others, especially in our industry, because there's so many real estate professionals and real estate brokers out there. But I think it's so important to, be true to yourself, be authentic, but kind of like use your own style. And you're 100% right when you say, if they're not meant to work with you, they're not meant to work with you. And I only grasped that. I'm 16 years into my business. I only grasped that in like the last 2 years, where I realized that if my client is not happy with me taking a vacation, it's not meant to be. And that's not the client I want.
Completely.
Yeah. So you really have to be true to who you are, put yourself first, and then have your priorities right. And I think that comes with age. It comes with maturity. But if you mature and realize that earlier in your career or your life, it's just so much better, because you're just going to be yourself for the rest of your life. And you're going to say, this is who I am, take it or leave it.
Yeah. And I think you're very right with one other thing that I didn't speak about is in my early 20s, I was very much surrounded by a group of friends in the tech industry. Some of them had moved to San Francisco, pursued startups, were very successful in their startups there. And we would go to Burning Man together. And I've been to Burning Man 3 times. And that opened a lot of new doors and a new way of thinking for me, where I would also meet with these people, their friends, and they're all successful entrepreneurs, things you could only see in movies almost. And when you would see the way that they would sort of behave or be with each other or be in meetings, then it sort of changes the mind of, hey, success is not the way you dress necessarily. Success is not X, Y, and Z. Success is what you do and how you do it and with what kind of passion you lead into it. And that was also another, but I think being surrounded by that group of people does allow your mind to shift into a new perspective. And that was for sure also a mind shift for me.
I think you also have to establish your definition of success in life. One being that, what does success mean to you? I know people.
And it can be different at different parts of your life, right?
Absolutely. So what's your definition of success? How do you establish it? For some people, the definition of success is, I want to go to as many vacations as possible. I want to take road trips. I want to live in a modest home. I want to have no debt. And, I want a happy and healthy family. And then to someone else, the definition of success is, I want to build an empire. I want generational wealth. I want to buy a Lamborghini. It all depends on what your definition is.
Completely.
Then within the definition falls, what are the steps you're going to take to achieve that success?
Or willing to take.
The mindset.
So, right.
The mindset. And it's interesting because Ali and I talk about this all the time. Last night, I was working until about midnight in my home office. And I get a text message late at night, and Ali goes, can you send me the link for the cold plunge? Because a buddy of mine is now selling cold plunges at his business. And I sent it to him. And you're talking about, the things certain people do in regards to success. There's so many things you have to do in the background to be successful. One of the things you have to do is you have to take care of your mind and body, and you have to fuel it in a certain way. I have never, ever, ever met anyone. Let's talk about my friend circle. I've never met anyone within a friend circle of mine that if they're partying every weekend, they're successful.
It's impossible.
Yeah. They're not waking up Monday morning, but then there's friends that wake up Monday morning and they're like gym, cold plunge, smoothie, meetings. Everything has, times to it, like time blocking. And then, they've already achieved more on Monday than most people achieve by Thursday. Ali's huge on this.
Yeah.
Those habits you built are
absolutely, there must
are the key.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. Well, for your mindset, for your well-being, and also allows you to operate in a very comfortable environment too, right? I mean, life is very stressful, especially when you're entrepreneur and a mother with kids, a wife. Like, let's go back to when you were single. you've been an entrepreneur since a very young age.
Yes.
Right? Were you born into a family of entrepreneurs? How did you become one?
I've looked back at those moments, what it is that's really sparked it. And I tried diving into my childhood, see if there were any patterns or moments that really clicked at certain points. And no, I'm not from a family of entrepreneurs. My mom is a nurse. My dad is an aeronautical engineer, very straight by the book. They immigrated in Canada when I was 10 years old.
Okay.
So for them, it was, and for me too, an extremely humble beginning. And that's a whole other podcast on its own. But I was raised with the mindset, study hard, work hard, and you'll be fine. Oh, and fit in. Very important to fit in. Why? Because of the accent. Both my parents had strong accents. When we moved here, I remember my mom drilling it into me, tried to get the same accent as the other kids in school. It's very important. And I mean, I listened. That's what it was, right?
Yeah.
So today I speak English and French, but I'm first French, then second English. And people, when they hear me speak, they're like, well, hold on. How is that? I mean, my mom drilled that into me. So no entrepreneurs in my family. I studied in this field. I was 50. How it all started, I was a young teen trying to discover makeup and hair and beauty with a very strict mom. So my mom would not allow me to do any of those things, no makeup, no hair, and she would refuse to teach me. So I was like, well, I can teach myself. So I went on YouTube and I started watching these YouTube videos, and I was like, oh, I was getting pretty good at it. At 15, I had my first job as a hostess in a restaurant, and I was like, wow, all this money, I'm going to buy all this makeup and hair products that I want. And so I did. And I started getting pretty good at it. And I told my dad, I'm like, hey, for my birthday, I would really like a camera so that I can record these makeup videos. And my dad was like, okay, fine. If you want, we can do that. Sure. And my dad has always supported my passions.
Okay.
And he has always fueled, where my mom was a little bit more, she was pushing in the brakes out of fear and out of concern. Never out of bad intent. And so I started recording my first YouTube videos about me doing makeup, because there was really no teens doing that then.
Wow.
Today, the world is completely different. So this was 16 years ago, and I started picking up some pretty good success with that. I became a YouTube partner, which basically they pay you based on the clicks that you have on your ads. I was very successful with a J-Lo makeup and how to do a messy bun. This was my ultimate success on YouTube when I was 15 years old. And that fueled the passion that followed for the rest of the life, and the digital creativity and advertising and influencer marketing, which I was doing at 15 years old, which then didn't have that title and that name yet. And the rest sort of just followed.
Beautiful. And so the vision continues in a sense that you continue to be an entrepreneur even after you got married.
Yes.
You have 2 kids, soon to have 3. How did you sell this vision to your husband, and how is he supporting your vision?
The vision of selling my company?
No, of staying an entrepreneur and keep expanding and adding more businesses into your busy life.
When we met, I mean, he's also an entrepreneur, and so am I. And one of our big connecting points for sure has to be business too. And we talk about business often without it necessarily taking over our relationship, but we are each other's business coaches, business mentors, business therapist, if you want to call it. He always has been mine, and I have always been his. And part of those rituals that you were just mentioning, since last year, we started taking evening walks. So we take 1 hour evening walk, and that's 10,000 steps, 1 hour walk. So we would always get our 10,000 steps in that 1 hour. Just so many magical things and conversations happen.
Of course.
when you have you're just walking, you're mindlessly walking, and we walk in our mindless neighborhood where all the streets, as I say, always lead to Rome, and I'm like, where are we? He's like, it's fine, we'll be fine. But yeah,
it's beautiful to be with someone who has the same vision as you or support your vision. This is something that Ray and I talk, we have colleagues in the industry or other fields, and they have that vision, they have that grind, but the other half doesn't support that, or they expect way too much from them, and it just holds them back.
Mm-hmm.
And
I have been in a relationship like that.
Yeah.
And
I think
it's not easy.
Yeah, you're not like-minded. My wife and I are like that. So we are like-minded. So my wife and I, what we do is we are each other's business coaches, mentors. We do the walks every day or every morning.
Amazing.
Most of the time, every day after dinner. And she actually left her career and her job to come join me in real estate. So she works with me hand in hand on a daily basis. Ali knows her. Her office is right next to Ali's, actually. So Ali sees her more than he sees me. But long story short, it's so important because it creates a foundation at home. And then you're like-minded, but then your kids are picking up on these things. So now you are a family of entrepreneurs. And outside of that, what it does is that it holds you both accountable. But the negative out of all that is if you let it take over your relationship and your marriage.
Completely.
And I've had those battles where, I wake up in the morning and my wife will ask me a question, or I get home after a long day and she'll ask me a question, and I'm like, I need you to be my wife. I can't have you be the director of operations right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you're my wife here, but at the office, it's strictly business kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And Ali's right. Sometimes if you're not on the same page, you can't tap into your full potential, especially in a sales and performance-driven industry like ours. Then again, every industry is like that, but ours is very what did you do for me today? You can't rest on your laurels.
Yeah.
But I think I tend to blame the couple from not having the honest conversation on day one. Okay, we want to be together. We want to form a family. What does our 10 years look like?
Yeah.
Am I gonna be getting the support from you? Are you gonna be getting the support from me? Are you on board of what I want to do in the next? I think it's I don't know if you know Patrick, but David, he wrote a book called Your Next 5 Move. So anything that you do now, okay, well, what are the next steps that are gonna follow?
Yeah.
And how it's gonna affect your vision, right? It's being a mother, I think, is one of the most difficult jobs out there. And having kids, not only 1, 2, but 3, how do you balance your day-to-day life, and how do you
I think the perfect balance never exists, and that's, I think, why it's called balance. Is something's got to give at some point, somewhere. Maybe today will be one thing, tomorrow will be another, and that's what will end up creating that balance.
Okay.
At least for me, that's how I see it. I was very fortunate and unfortunate at the same time. It really depends how you want to see it. But when I had my kids, and this was, pre-discussed, my husband knew what he signed up for, is I am continuing my business. Taking a mat leave will be close to impossible. Although I walked in with a mat leave idea, maybe 3 months into my first pregnancy, I was like, wow, this is not going to be possible. Why? Because my team was small at the time, needed my support, needed my vision. My clients still needed that support and vision and my implication. I have always been very implicated with all my clients, although I did sort of take a step back and I was leading from behind, but
yes.
they always knew I was there.
And I can second that, because once upon a time I was a client at the agency Frenzer that Mariela was owned and run, and I believe and you had your second child 2 weeks ago, and in 3 weeks I was talking to Sabrina, who was handling our project, and she jumped in on the call.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was 3 weeks after giving birth.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
I think it's in your. I always say this: you're either born as an entrepreneur or you're not. I think most entrepreneurs that are very successful in their field, jumping on a call or talking to a client even 2 weeks after giving birth is not work.
No, it's not,
No.
and it was
Yeah.
never work for me, and that was the beauty of it all.
Yeah, it's not work.
And that's one of the reasons why I actually sold it, because at a certain point it did become work,
Oh, okay.
and it hadn't been up until that point.
You felt that it was work, and it was like, you had to do it.
I outgrew the business.
Okay.
I outgrew the business. I felt like I had grown it to its potential, and it was ready for me to move on and sort of let someone else continue what I have built. And it was very, very clear. I get asked weekly to this day, and it's been 1.5 years since I've sold. How do you feel? Are you okay since you sold? Do you miss it? And no, I had a very, very clean transition. I'm so happy that I sold. Top 3 decisions in my life, with sort of meeting my husband and my kids in those other 2 decisions in there, So definitely top decision. I was ready. I made the move, and the rest is just, it happened out of purpose. And I didn't sell out of the need to sell.
Yeah.
I sold out of wanting to sell. And that was one of when I actually met with potential buyers. I had 6 offers on the table, which was like crazy. And when I would meet with them, it was like, I'm not selling because I need to sell. I'm not in a tight position anywhere. My business is growing and thriving, and I'm very happy in it. I love this industry, but I want to sell it. And that was like, for a lot of people, it was like, oh, okay, that's what she's coming into the table with.
So it was a social media management company?
Social media marketing, yeah,
It
for
was
the most part.
branding and social media. A beautiful shop in the city, very well run.
To this day, actually.
Great services, and also price-wise was very attractive for any small businesses or big businesses or a startup. Talk about resolving concerns to business owners. Friendster did. It was a one-stop shop operation, and it was very well run.
And did you have a plan for going into the dry fruit and nut business? Like, was that plan B? You knew you were going to do that when you sold, or when you sold, did you say, I'm going to sell, take some time off, and then decide what I'm going to do? Like, what was the transition?
Yeah, no, the decision was taken. Everything was ready.
Okay.
So I started developing my second business idea, which is called Nutterie, which is my main business today. I started developing Nutterie in my first pregnancy. And that's what I was telling you guys, like, pregnancies bring on new projects for me. Yeah. My husband's always scared, like, what's going to come up next? So I started working on the name, the branding. All of that was done in my first pregnancy. I gave birth, put that on hold, got pregnant again, resumed my work. So I developed the website with an incredible team in my second pregnancy. And that sort of coincides with the selling of the marketing agency. Sold that, took 1.5 months vacation, and then started my second business. So it was planned, yes. And it's people that I meet that don't know that my husband is in the industry. They're like, how did you go from marketing to selling nuts?
Nuts, yeah.
And my husband is in the industry, has been in the industry for 15 years, in the food industry his whole life. He comes from a family of entrepreneurs in the food industry.
Okay.
And when him and I met, I learned so much about the nuts industry very fast, because my mind thinks business. So I would always ask him very specific questions about X, Y, and Z, and about the products, and et cetera, et cetera. And I learned very, very quickly that nuts are, and that whole area of products, are not expensive. But the reason why we perceive them, or why they are expensive at the end of the day when you buy them in the store, is because of all the steps that they have taken to get to that store. So they have been resold many, many times. And there's a lot of travel involved in all of that, and a lot of repackaging, once again. All of those things drive cost up. And at the end of the day, we're buying, I don't know, 400 grams of something when your salad recipe needs exactly that. So you're like, did I just dump $20 of pine nuts in my salad? How expensive is that salad right now?
Okay.
Right? So I was like, okay, so if we cut the middleman, there's so much opportunity here. And he's the first person to get those products into the country. And we started getting, every time we would host, people would be like, oh, Charles, I want to buy you some nuts. And he's like, I'm not going to open a truckload to sell you a bag of nuts.
So he brings them into the country. He's an importer?
Exactly. Importer and distributor.
Okay.
But in large quantities.
Okay.
So when he was like, what's your next step? And I'm like, I'm going to be selling nuts in 1 kilo bags. And he was like, perfect, let's do it.
Okay. So just for me to understand what makes your product stand out from the rest is the fact that it's fresh.
Exactly.
Right. And the middleman is not there anymore.
Exactly.
Right. So from the farmer to basically packaged by you guys and sold by you.
Completely. So in fact, the way that we receive our goods, they're still farmer packed.
Okay.
In some occasions, we will repack for certain clients, but then they will sort of sell directly into their, given bags, et cetera. But for most parts, the way we receive the goods, they're farmer packed. So you literally, when you buy Nutterie, you have your pecans that come from Chile right on from the farmer packaging, that we pack specifically for your order. So that's another thing that a lot of people don't know, but it's something that's still very important for us. And, as long as we can do it, that, our volumes are not, maybe one day they'll be, knock on wood. But we pack every single order specifically for you. So it has not been pre-packed. So we pack every single order specifically for you. And freshness, people really have rediscovered what nuts should taste like, because usually your packaged goods from that type of products, they will spend anywhere from 3 to sometimes even 8 months. It's so horrible to say, but let's say on average 3 to 6 months in transit, in transport, in packaging, repackaging, being resold, in storage, on the shelves, and then finally they get to you. So you have lost about half of the peak of life of your fresh products.
Yeah.
So you're only buying it at halfway through its life, so it will not be as fresh as it really should. And I hosted a pop-up for a month over the holidays. It was our first in-person store, and I would do basically tasting up everything. Whatever you want to try, I'll open for you. I have. Let's do it, and let me educate you on that. And people were like, wow, okay, I really understand what you mean now, because freshness is really on a whole other level. So freshness, and of course price, because we are cutting all those middlemen in between.
Okay.
So are you direct to consumer?
Direct to consumer, yeah.
And your distribution channel is online only?
Online only, correct.
Okay. Any plans to open up bricks and mortar?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
So you're going to compete against the big, I won't give them their name, but like the bigger nut and dried fruit franchises. You want to, or do you want to do more of like a boutique style?
Boutique style, I think it goes with who I am. It goes with the sort of brands I've always built. I love lifestyle brands, and for me, being a lifestyle brand is do good, be good, eat good. All of those goodness and wholesome factors for me are part of who Nutterie is, who I am as a person, and the sort of brands that I want to build and put out into this world. So for me, those giants and whatever their names are, I really don't care, because if you want to be buying from them and be buying them from Walmart or Costco or whatever it is, please go ahead. I really don't mind. And for me, the fact that you are consuming nuts only helps my industry. So yes, if you are to buy nuts from there or not buy nuts, I still prefer that you buy nuts, because there's so much goodness and in nuts and seeds and dried fruits.
I didn't realize how big the industry is. I learned yesterday actually that it's the market size is it's in 2023 it was 63 billion. With a 5% increase each year, and they're forecasting that's going to be around 140 billion by 2033. It's a big industry. It's
a big industry, and I think we're coming into an era of where people have access to information from which they can take more mindful decisions into what goes into their body,
yes,
into their mind, etc., etc. And that's one of the reasons. I mean, I believe in the goodness of those products from way before that. But if I can educate and allow this access to people to get the best of those products, I will. And I think there's so much room for innovation, and that's, on those walks with my husband, so we come up with the best ideas, and he's like, oh my God, we have to do this. Yeah.
Will you, now that you going through the process of building this, brand and product, do you have in mind of like expanding your line of products, adding other products other than
Always.
that? Always? Okay.
Always. So just next week, for example, we're launching. So we sort of started with a baseline of categories. So nuts, dried fruits, seeds. Very quickly, we launched alternative flours.
Okay.
For the holidays, we launched a chocolate category.
Okay.
So chocolate covered almonds.
Yes,
you're a fan. And
I will get you some.
Yeah, please don't.
I will get you some. I will get you some. And chocolate also to melt and cook with as well. And next week, you've heard it here first, we're launching salad toppers and yogurt toppers as well.
Okay.
So sort of your premix of nuts and seeds just to top your salads.
Okay.
And same for more, with a sort of sweeter touch, slightly different. Another 3 products that are going to be yogurt toppers, chia pudding toppers. They can be cereal mix-ins. Honestly, they can be used in so many different ways, and they can still be used in your salads too. So those toppers are really an easy way of, sprinkling it on top and calling it a day. Yeah. And that sort of came with during my pop-up that I had over the holidays. I also had a bar, and I had a small menu going on, a Nutterie menu. And it was sort of like my MVP, testing my idea and seeing if this is gonna work for me to have a brick and mortar, but also with a little wink to healthy foods, salad bowls, chia bowls, etc., etc. And I would do, I would offer small menu. Worked great. Everyone loved it. So yay, idea proven, check. And my husband, obviously, like they're a big team, and he's like, why don't you make some salads for us for the office? And I was like, yeah, of course, 100%. So I would prepare twice a week a batch of salads for their entire team. And that stayed after the pop-up closed. Right now I make them from home. One day it will continue being from, our Nutterie location. But I would always sprinkle with a mix of, different seeds, different nuts, all of their salads. And I was like, okay, guys, we need to simplify that. Let's create some toppers.
Okay.
So that's how it all came together. And my chia toppers, the idea was really, I had tested a blend of 10 different blends before the pop-up. And there was really one that stood out.
Okay.
So it was a blend, chia and those mix of seeds, dry fruits mainly. Yeah, that would go into it. And nuts, of course, and nuts. And it was honestly an incredible taste. Nothing added, no sugar, no honey, no nothing. And it tastes like heaven. I considered and still am considering creating a different product, different company with that later on.
And the products could be like, say, if like I'm a business owner and, I tend to give gifts to clients after their closing. So in a gift basket, I can always reach out to you guys and create something that's branded to my business.
So we do some customization. We have a few clients for who we've done their sort of custom mixes with a custom name, right? Okay. So right now, let's say it will be one of our most popular mixes, our Cette mix, but it will be the M Immobilier mix.
Okay. Okay, I see. Okay.
Or we can create something funky. So yes, we do some of that. We do corporate gifting. We did an amazing 250, if not a bit more, Nutterie boxes delivered in one day to L'Oreal, and that was really nice to see. Really fun.
And that would be a cool gift.
Yeah.
Where's your packaging done?
All in Montreal.
Everything's in Montreal.
Yeah.
Wow. So you have a huge team. The product gets here in bulk. You package it locally, and then it's individualized and packaged.
Correct.
For the brand and or for the consumer.
Yeah. And mainly for the consumer.
When you open up bricks and mortar, are there any plans to have bricks and mortar where people can come in and like say buy a salad? Or is it okay. So I'm on to this business model. You're manifesting it. Okay. That's good. And you know, obviously when you go bricks and mortar, there's always a vision. So do you have a vision to have, you know, 15 Nutterie locations across the island of Montreal? Or is it going to be more of, you know, let's start with one or two and kind of, you know, have a test market before thinking expansion?
I always think in all the businesses I've done, start small, grow from there. Maybe you want to stay small. Sometimes there's such a benefit to staying small, staying local, not over expanding, not growing. I have seen it way too many times with clients where they have grown too fast or simply grown when they didn't need to grow. Yeah. And they were doing much better stress level, profit level when they were small. So
especially when one of your main selling point is keeping the product fresh. Like, I mean, the more you expand, how do you get to control the quality of the products you're using?
It's interesting. There's a restaurant chain in Montreal, a Greek food restaurant chain that has a few locations. They will never sell you a franchise because only the family and the kids and like the cousins run it. So there will never be a franchise. But there's also, if you've ever been to California, there's In-N-Out Burger, which is only in California and they've never expanded. But anyone that's ate In-N-Out will tell you it's 10 times better than McDonald's. So it's coming back to freshness, coming back to management,
yes,
coming back to geographically being located in the same area. And then also, you know, in regards to staying small, sometimes when you are small in your boutique, you will draw a certain type of clientele. Like our agency, we're a boutique real estate agency. Granted, we have over 140, 150 brokers, and 4 locations, but the beauty about M Real Estate is that we're boutique. Everything we do is boutique.
The mindset is boutique, and I completely relate to that.
100%. Like my service to my clientele is bespoke. So everything I do can be tailored to the person sitting in front of me.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're at a big banner, it's completely different.
It's different, yeah.
You know? And I think staying small, staying boutique, I think that's also the future. Like, for example, you know, you go to Holt Renfrew or you go to Ogilvy's, you go to Holt Cafe and you have lunch there. There's not 20 Holt Cafes in Montreal.
No.
There's only one. So you go there, you know, you eat. It's a part of the experience, the shopping experience, the day, the way the place smells, the way it looks, you know. So I think it's extremely important. I mean, there's a salad chain in Montreal that, you know, they're also, they started out boutique. Now they have a few locations. Mm-hmm. And I think that is the future, you know? Yeah,
there's certain values that I'm not willing to compromise, that I think when you grow, and I'm hearing, you know, who you're referring to. And it's not just with them, but with so many others, that they have to step into things they probably wouldn't have done if they were a 1 store or 2 or 3, you know, boutique experience location, in terms of the quality of the ingredients and X, Y, and Z. And there's certain things that for me, I'm not willing to sort of cross that in order to grow. And they're all doing it out of profit, you know, and I guess maybe they have to be honest, because of all the costs that they inquire. But that's one of the problems of growing. You know, the more you grow, the more costs you have, and the harder it is to stay profitable.
It's interesting because everything you say in regards to questions we are asking you, I've noticed there's a trend, and you're unapologetically being yourself. So like you'll say, I'm not going to cross this boundary to, you know, you dilute who I am or what I am, or I'm going to stay true to myself and do this, and that's the next step. So
I didn't notice it when now that you say that.
I noticed it. And it's funny because, you know, you can ask someone a question about on this podcast or in general in life, what does it mean to you to live a good life? And they'll give you a generic answer, or for lack of other terms, they'll bullshit you. But in this situation, like, it's like when you have that consistency in what you're saying, it really means that, you know, this is something you live by, and you've grasped it, which is good because you could apply it to your personal life and your business life.
Now that I heard your story, you do things because of your passion of doing things, right? You know, we get into a venture to make money or to grow, or passion. For her is passion and growth. And then, of course, by focusing on those two elements, money will come with it. I think the passion is the main drive for you.
Yes, and it was the same for my first business. It was really out of passion, and I saw a need in the market, and I took the opportunity to create something which is still viable and thriving and doing so good in the hands of its new owner. And I know that it's because I didn't cross those boundaries that I have been tempted to so many times, but by then looking at competitors, what is everyone else doing? What are they not doing? And I am. And I challenged the status quo enough then for it to prove itself and to be still thriving to this day, almost 10 years later.
So you're a entrepreneur, you're a mom of 3, you're a wife, you have multiple businesses, or you intend to open up multiple businesses. As far as management of your day is concerned, like walk me through your day. We ask a lot of our guests that question. You know, like, walk me through your day. How does your morning start? Are you a part of the 5 a.m. club?
No, I'm not.
You know, do you get up? Yeah, you're not. That's you're being honest. It's good. You know, I've met entrepreneurs that get up at 5. By 8 a.m., their workout, emails, text messages are all done, and they hit the road, and most of their work is done. So walk me through your day.
I think you need to have that routine that fits your current lifestyle. I think I've had many, many different routines. I have never been part of the 5 a.m. club. I'll be honest. I love my sleep. I need my sleep now. Maybe in 5 to 10 years, I won't as much. Who knows? And my life drastically changed when I sold my company, which was the point. That's what I wanted to. I wanted to step back from the guilt that I had of working so much when my kids were babies, literally, and being able to have more time with them. And that was one of the main reasons, along with the fact that I felt like I had outgrown this business, because would it have been a logical decision to stay in it because it was profitable, it was easy, it was good, my clients were amazing, etc. So yeah, for sure. But no, I sold, and my life turned upside down with a new reality, new routine. And that routine today looks like waking up in the morning with my kids, doing breakfast, daycare, drop off, workout, which I never took care of myself up until I sold my business. When I did, the first day that I didn't go into office after my transition was done, I literally told myself, okay, I will work out every day that I am not working. And that was a way to keep sane into not having an office to go to every single day. And I started doing that alone. After that, with a coach. Slowly, I started my second business, continued that, and today it's a must for me to do still. So anywhere from the morning or even at night, or even if it's a walk with my husband, I will always do some movement in my day. So finish workout, come home. Thankfully, I'm very close. Come home, shower, get ready, and work. So I get my work done from either from home, from the office, we're based in Laval, or from anywhere. I can be at a coffee shop. I can be literally anywhere, and that's also the beauty of what I do right now. I take care of everything that's sort of digital, and I'm not that involved, with the packing and handling and all of that. We have a team that's great at that. And 4:30 comes, I pick up my 2 girls from daycare, bring them home and do sort of the evening routine.
And when you take care of digital and you take care of marketing, outside of that, do you have someone appointed to take care of the day-to-day operations for the actual packaging?
Yes,
shipping?
we have a team.
Okay, you have a team taking care of all that.
All that.
And all of that is based out of Laval?
Laval.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, we're in Laval, and if you're listening to this podcast, we also have we have our own driver too. So sometimes we get to beat Amazon Prime.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
So you have like a sprinter?
A sprinter. I don't know if you want to call him a sprinter.
Yeah.
Roger, are you a sprinter? I don't know. If you're listening to this, yeah, he does our own deliveries. So from Montreal and that entire area. So we don't ship through a carrier for those. We deliver ourselves.
Okay.
And that also comes and complements sort of the mindset of who we are, and offers that a little bit more accessible sort of product with a more personalized touch as well.
Experience.
Yeah.
It goes back to experience. Right.
Of course. Yeah. So you're a mompreneur, and we always ask this question, but more often than not to our guests that are ladies. Outside of being unapologetically yourself, any young lady listening right now, what advice would you give her, whether she's married or not? What advice would you give her if she's looking to, get into a specific career, or open up a business, or mimic what you've done with your life? What advice would you give them?
Don't doubt it and go for it one step at a time, even if the big picture looks scary today. I always say the end outcome today sounds and looks so intimidating, but if you don't start your today with your one step towards that goal, you will never get there. So I think about it like that. For me, I was never a great student, for example, in university. But one step at a time, one day at a time, I got there. I never knew how to run a business. I started a business. I never knew how do you even open a business? What does that even entail? One step at a time. I started a business, ran it for 6 months. I was like, oh, damn, I think it's time to register.
Okay.
Called up a lawyer. He told me all about it. Oh, okay, not that bad. One step at a time. We got there. Figuring it out as it goes, I think, for me has been my biggest blessing, to also not overthink it. And it has come in handy many, many times. It has been handy in the sale of my company, since we've talked about it quite a bit. Sounds so scary, like selling a company. Oh, it seems so long. How are we even going to get there? But, speak to someone. Start with that. Get your mind straight. Are you ready for it? Is your price right? Prepare your documents in the background. Sign with a broker. Step by step, and you get there,
Yeah, start the process and then figure things out as you go.
And you guys are in the housing market, and you relate to that. I mean, we've moved 3 times in the last 3 years, and we're about to do it again in a few more months. And, all with a certain goal in mind that sounded so big and so unattainable and so scary. We're almost there.
So outside of being a mom of 3, a businesswoman, a wife, you're also, moving constantly.
A serial mover.
Yeah. Okay. I went through a phase of that in my life with my wife, where we moved 3 times in 4 years, and it was all at the beginning of COVID up until about 1.5 years ago. So not only was the market at a peak and we were selling the most real estate at the highest prices, but we were going through renovations, selling a house, building a brand new house, and there's so much, but I'm very lucky because I have that superwoman at home.
Yeah. We live a parallel life, you and I.
Yeah. I think so, because the things you're explaining, it's almost like, there's certain things that you do with your husband in regards to, on a daily basis that, I do the same thing. And I think that certain demographics or people of a certain mindset will often do this. Like Ali and I will talk about something and I'll be like, come on, man, you serious? I want to do that too. Yeah. Or this podcast, for example. We had a lunch. He mentioned it. I mentioned it. And I was like, it's been on my vision board for 2 years. You know, it's something I've wanted to do. Just didn't know, believe it or not, like you just mentioned, just didn't know how to start, who to start with, and how to go about it, because business is good. I'm increasing the size of my team. I'm buying properties myself. So there's a lot of things going on. How do I do a podcast? But you know what? When you sit down with Justin and, you know, the creative geniuses at M Real Estate, we put one foot in front of the other. And like you said, start somewhere.
One step at a time.
And then figure out the rest.
And maybe we'll sell the podcast one day to Patrick Bet-David.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Mariela, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
That was it was great to have you and great to hear your story. If you can tell our viewers where to find your product and how to get your product, that would be great.
Yeah.
And we're gonna be putting some details and links in the podcast.
Beautiful.
Well.
So the easiest way is to click the links in the podcast.
Yeah.
Second, on Instagram, you can find us at It's Nutterie, and that's Nutterie, Nutterie, and nutterie.com. So same, but nutterie.com. And you can find my personal account, my personal life, and follow that, you know, little perfectly imperfect flow at Ella Katz, Ella ELLA Katz KTZZ on Instagram as well.
Perfect. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Mariela.
Yes.
This has
It's
been a
such
pleasure. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.